Hey, I'm Evan.
I'm Mike.
Welcome to USS Sea Stories.
The broken and fallen, damned old souls been sent to burn. Nowadays they've been calling, telling me soon gonna be my turn. Head down.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to USS Sea Stories. As always, I'm Evan. That's Mike. This is our buddy Dial. He actually just retired from the Navy not too long ago. We wanted to bring him on, and he's going to share some of his stories. We don't really have anything planned. We just want to hear his side of what the Navy was like for him. So, Dial, take it away, man.
All right, man. Like I said, I'm Dial. I did 22 years. I was attached to 4 boats. I have 2 first flight 88s. I did 1 Trident, and I commissioned the Colorado, which that's something in itself. If you ever get to do a PCU, don't do it, man. It's rough. The first 2 years are nice. That last 18 months of 18-hour days is rough. Even as a sonar tech, we had to stay and watch A-gang work. It sucked for those guys, but we had to stay. So, but it was all good. Glad I got to do it now that I'm done. But I'd go back in a heartbeat.
You said you joined back in '97. I think that's what you said.
Yep, June of '97.
Man, that was a long time ago, dude. I joined back in '07. So you were in a full 10 years by the time I actually joined. That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
So you were on a whole bunch of different boats, man. Like what boat would you say was the type of boat would you say was like your favorite? Boomers, 88s, fast tack?
First flight 88 by far.
Yeah.
By far. Yeah. Yeah, boomers suck, especially for Submarine, which I was.
Yeah.
It was boring. Yeah, I did one, tried to see what that other life was like, and nope.
Which boomer were you on?
I was on the Wyoming Gold. It was a good boat. Had a bunch of friends there, but just
Yeah.
I
I was on Louisiana Gold. I can attest to that, man. It's so boring, dude. You don't get to do anything, but the deployment schedules are really good. That's about the only good thing.
It all depends. Like when I was on Wyoming, our shortest patrol was like 15 days longer than the Blue Crew's longest patrol. We did a 106-day patrol, my very last one. That's the first one that females came on board. If NCIS is listening, I had nothing to do with that Wyoming, photo. Not me, didn't do it. I was gone for a year, so don't call me.
Hey, man. So were you East Coast or West Coast sub guy?
Well, man, my first boat was the USS Albuquerque, and she was out of Groton. So I did my first 4 years in Groton. And then my next boat was the USS Olympia, which I did another 4 years there in Pearl.
Okay.
And then I did another 4 years on Wyoming in Kings Bay. Then I did that 3-year stint in NMPTC as that glorified librarian. Yes, sir. And then I did my last 3 or 4 aboard Colorado.
Right on. So you, like we said before, so you joined back in '97. So you were there in a time frame that Mike and I don't know, and you were there from the time frame that we were there, and then even after that. So,
right.
What would be the major differences from like the '90s, early 2000s to our time to even after that? What would you say is like the differences?
There's probably some old sailors that watch this, and it was the kinder, gentler Navy when I came in from them. But from when I first joined to when I retired, just how we treat the junior guys. There's, if you yell at them, you can get in trouble. I mean, there's no tough love.
They got soft.
Yeah, which, this younger generation, a lot of them are a little softer. They didn't grow up the same way we did, the same way I did anyways. But the kids now are coming in, I think smarter than we were back then with, because everything's going to electronics in the Navy, and that's all they know really is electronics. Not a whole bunch of them set out in the garage with their dads, turning wrenches on the 67 Chevelle or anything like, some of us did when we were younger. But it's just, man, it's a lot softer. It's a lot more nurturing.
When did you see like the culture shift?
Man, when I came in, it was the beginning of the culture shift. You know, the tacking on the dolphins or tacking on the crow, all that stuff started to fade out. You know, more and more people were getting in trouble for doing it. You know, it still happened, but more and more people were getting in trouble, you know, in the early 2000s until about mid, 2010, 2012 timeframe is when it really started going away. You know, you still get people that think they're tacking on fish, but, you know, when that happened, they tried to bring back what tacking on the fish actually was. You know, you give everybody, you know, you let them sew a stitch in the dolphins and their, you know, I'm not going to say dungaree shirts anymore because they didn't have those, but the blueberries or now the type 3s, you know, it's where everybody, you know, stitches, you know, the fish onto what it really was about was when you tacking on the dolphins, not just trying to beat the nonsense out of somebody.
Yeah, man, we Mike and I talked about that a while ago, that we always mentioned that we're like the ass end of your generation, like just the end part. I was 07 when I came in. Mike, I think you were 9.
09. Yeah.
09. I got tacked on, like the old school tacked on. I thought that was just always gonna last, bro. Like that was just how tradition was. But like you said, bro, like once it got to like 2012 time frame, it started really petering out, and people started complaining about stupid shit like that.
Well, shit like that gets, you know, it has to go away because you got these people that think it's cool to try to cave someone's chest in or stop their heart with one punch. And, you know, simple, you know, nice little punch, you know, that's fine. Don't get me wrong, but you got dudes running across, you know, control trying to catch somebody in the chest. You know, that's just a little too much.
Right. Yeah. So no, they didn't. They lost like control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People being stupid.
Yeah, man. Like that was when I was qualifying, I always mention I was a shitbag. I took like fucking almost a whole year to get qualified. But when we were qualifying, bro, like that was some of the stories that you hear, like when I was a nub, that you kind of look forward to. Like you were kind of scared of getting tacked on and stuff because no one wants you to really get punched in the chest with fucking metal spikes on your skin. But it was like a rite of passage, right? Like
yeah.
Once you get tacked on, like you're part of the brotherhood kind of thing. And then once I started hearing stuff about like, you know, that going away and people complaining about it or, you know, reporting and shit like that, dude, it just kind of like, it made it insignificant, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a rite of passage. I look forward to mine, honestly. You know,
yeah.
Of course, you know, I was a little bit bigger sonarman than they got back in the day. Then I had a smart mouth, and anybody who knows me will agree that I had a smart mouth. I'm real quick to talk shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not scared. You know, we'll go to the torpedo room. If you beat me, you know what? I'm gonna get up talking shit just like I went down. It ain't nothing to me.
Right. Let's talk about that too, bro. So in your time and you know the beginning of our time, going in a room and locking the door and dishing out your problems with each other was like a normal thing, right? And then you come out and you're either buddy or you know you at least have some kind of understanding, right?
Yes and no. You know, you still had the dudes that would, you know, run until calm. But you also had those dudes that understood, like, all right, let's go do some low-level maintenance. Or, you know, on the first flight 88, you can shut the doors in CSES and go up there by the knocker valves. And there's not a lot of room, but, you know, that's where that sub-food comes in handy.
Right.
So,
but it kind of like, it made people closer, right? Like, you know, you duke it out and shit like that. You understand people's problems. Maybe you don't like each other, but you have an understanding at the end of the day.
Oh, right? Yeah. I think it, you know, that's one of the things that made a crew tight, you know, having a real shitty top 3 makes the best crew, I think, because, you know, everybody unites against them 3.
Yeah.
You know, my first captain was, man, he was a fire breather. He would yell at E1 to 04. It didn't matter. If you crossed him, you were getting the dragon's breath. Our XO wasn't that great, but, you know, I thought the Cobb was awesome. But as I progressed later on in my career, you know, listening to some of the chiefs talk about, you know, the Cobb at that time, you know, apparently he wasn't that good of one. But as a junior guy, man, either he just liked me or he sheltered me and, you know, one of my best friends named Cody. We could do almost no wrong.
Right.
I remember we got off deployment and we all thought we were cool. We went up there and dyed our hair. When I had hair, I had real dark hair, and I tried to dye it. It went orange. None of this blonde shit like you see on the little boxes. Like, oh yeah, that's gonna be cool. So I went and dyed my hair, and it turned orange.
Yeah.
And it didn't quit. You know, I couldn't wash it out. I couldn't do anything. And so we come off stand down leave, and my cob looks at me and snatches me up by the ear, and we go to the lower base exchange right there in Groton, back before Lucky Dogs and all that shit. This was in '99, and there was 4 other cobs up there just chewing my ass while the cob used the barber's shears and cut all my hair off. He told me if I ever did that again, it would be curtains. And it was, all right, cob, and I could do no wrong.
Yeah.
So, but that time I was scared. I thought he was going to beat my ass or something. He was a big old dude.
So when you say top 3, we're talking about COXO Cobb.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because those top 3 can really make or break a fucking crew. They
can. You know, I've found I've had a couple good captains and good cobs at the same time. You know, you got to have one of them's got to off balance. You know, you got to keep it out there. But I found out when you know your top 3's, you know, pretty good, your crew's not as tight, because there's, you know, everybody's all right, cool. But when, like that shirt says, embrace the suck, or the saying says, embrace the suck, you know, when them top 3 suck really bad, the only people you got to lean on is your crew, because you have to see mom ain't there to help you, you know, make you feel better, make a phone call. So, and that's what I found out. You know, the worse the chain of command is, the better the crew is. The tighter the crew. I shouldn't say better, the tighter, the more y'all hang out together.
Yeah. I mean, you have something to hate, you know, well, not really hate, but, you know, you all grumble about something like
you can say hatred. Yeah,
it's like hate. So, you know, you can all bitch about like the XOCO cob and shit like that. It'll make you tighter because of that.
Yeah, it does. I think it does. I think like, you know, my first boat was my best boat. You know, I've always heard the sayings that you'll always say your first boat's your best boat. My other boats were great. You know, I have a lot of friends off those boats. I still talk to a lot of them today. But my first boat, I think we're the tightest crew. And I really think if I could have kept that crew, I'd have done 20 years on that boat. You know, no shortage, no nothing. That crew, even though, you know, Skipper wasn't the best, you know, we had a good XO, then we didn't. You know, the cobs, you know, I understand those got to change out. But if we would have kept that one crew, I'd have done 20 years on that boat, no problem. Right. You know, my that same captain, you know, I was having a pretty rough time underway, because, you know, most first-time sailors, you know, fuck, man, I don't want to do this. But we was out to sea probably 40 days into like a 2.5, 3 month run. And he brought me in the stateroom and says, "How you doing?" I'm all right, man, just having a tough go at it. He goes, "You think I want to fucking be out here? You think I want to hang out with these guys over here? I'd much rather be at home in bed with my old lady, playing with my kids. You know, this shit is how you make it." And man, that changed a lot for me. I quit looking at it.
It was tough love, man. Like, I think that needs to stay in, bro. I think that disappeared, or is disappearing, or is, you know, maybe it's already gone, whatever. But, you know, a lot of people got a lot of tough love in the Navy or in submarines back in the day. And it sucked at the time. Maybe you didn't understand it at the time. But in hindsight, bro, that was the best thing you could ever get, is tough love.
Oh, yeah. It was probably some of the best tough love, you know. First 2 years, like it took me almost a year to qualify. I was a shitbag. I don't care. You can call me what you want, you know.
Same.
We'd go down to the torpedo room, because, you know, there's torpedo man. His name's James Carroll. I called you out, homie. He would raise the lifts for us, and we'd hide out underneath the stoves and just talk. We'd have SSMs like we were fucking reading. Who really read the SSMs? You know, you just went off tribal knowledge, and the guy that just qualified passed down his qualification book, and we studied that shit. And went to the same people he did for checkouts. You know, that's how we did it. But
one thing that I remember, like, just for my phasing out, that brotherhood and that, like, looking out for each other, that close knit, was like just dwindling away, because it was more so now everybody's focused on themselves, trying to get the evals right. You know, there was no looking out for each other. So I know during that time, you was already in, but what, 16, 17 years. So as you progressed on to your retirement, you know, did you see that, like, brotherhood, that closeness kind of shift away?
Oh yeah, you know, that goes away. When I was on Wyoming, I was listening to Navdiv get yelled at, because, you know, they did something stupid and they were getting yelled at. And, you know, this chief said, y'all are just a stepping stone to my star. You know, who says that to your division?
Wow, that's
so, you know, it was going away. And you can ask any of my sailors that, you know, that I've trained and whatnot, that I was always going to look out for them. You know, they, you know, still today I call them, you know, hey, how y'all doing? You know, even though, you know, they're two different boats now and, you know, gone, like some of them are first classes already. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, you just got to the boat 6 years ago and you're already first class taking your chief exam. Jesus, fucking nerds. But yeah, man, I tried to keep that. You know, I was more of a guy that would look out for my guys. I would, you know, if they did some shit wrong, I would say, yeah, chief, or yeah, Cobb, you know, I showed them how to do it kind of this way. You know, that's my fault. You know, they were just following my direction. You know, try to take that first one or two for them.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that you said that, bro, because there's a lot of times that, you know, my chief covered for me too when I did some stupid shit as a young guy, you know, and maybe he wasn't at fault at all, but he would take the blame and then he would give me shit afterwards, right?
Oh, yeah.
Alone. But when he was in the face of like the Cobb or the XO or some shit, he would take all the blame and then he would shit on me later. But that would, in that instance, you know, he would take the blame when it comes to the higher ups, right? And I think a lot of guys nowadays who maybe how when we came in, our chiefs, or even younger now, when they came in after us, our chiefs and stuff like that, they're missing that kind of quality where they'll take the bullet initially and then, you know, shit on their guys later. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's missing. You know, that was, again, in hindsight, that was like one of the best things ever, dude, because you're like, well, cool, man. Like, you know, I got in trouble for it afterwards, but when it comes to higher ups, they didn't know a fucking thing about it because my chief said it was all him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, I was fortunate to have a lot of great chiefs in a lot of first classes when I was a young buck coming up in the ranks. You know, a lot of them didn't like me because, like I said, I was a smart mouth. You know, I'm better than you because I'm from Texas and all. You know, just that persona that we have, ain't that right, Mike?
Yeah, that's every day, man.
But I had a lot of great people ahead of me that looked out for me. You know, my first boat, there's a first class named Travis Huntington. That motherfucker probably saved my life several times. I didn't even know it. You know, then you know, I had a chief on the Olympia. You know, Matt Southern, he was amazing. You know, I don't know what he did behind the scenes, but he kept my ass out of trouble. And I'm pretty sure that was pretty hard because I was in Hawaii. My wife at the time wasn't out there. So I was out partying with the single guys. You know, in Hawaii, the bars don't close till 4.
Yeah.
And so you get back to your room at 5. You got to be at the boat by 6:37. I ain't figured out when we slept, but there wasn't very much of it. You know, they kept us out of trouble. And my last chief was Senior Chief Billick. Yeah, that's it. I think that's his name. I don't remember. It's been a couple of days. But yeah, man, that dude, he still calls and checks on me. He was a good dude. You know, he didn't rule with an iron fist, but he taught. You know, he was more of a mentor than you will do it this way or this is how you're going to do it, because I said he liked us to get in there and, you know, kind of make our own mistakes so we can learn from it, but not too bad where we get in trouble.
Right.
But yeah, I was lucky to have a lot of great leaders and stuff ahead of me to show me the way versus, you know, some people, you know, they just get bad chiefs right off the bat. And, you know, that first tour, you get a bad chief for 3 of those years. And you're like, fuck this, I don't want to stay in.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between an asshole chief and a bad chief, man. And especially when it comes to your first tour, dude, that can really define who you're going to be in the Navy based off your leadership, like your first leadership kind of thing. Like, you have an asshole chief, like how I think all 3 of us began with asshole chiefs, and that's a great thing. Yeah. You know, like, if you have an asshole chief, who will put you in your place, tell you why you're there, and then you will grow as a better person because of that. You know, but if you have a bad chief or bad leadership, whatever, you know, maybe it's not a chief, first class, chief, whatever the fuck. If you just have a bad one who's just looking out for himself, trying to look for the next star in his fucking collar and shit like that, like, you know, that can really fuck you up in the long run, and you don't even know it.
Yeah, it can. You know, I see so many sailors, people that would be good sailors, I think, say, you know, I ain't, you know, if this is what I got to look forward to for the next, you know, 16, 18 years, I'm done. This ain't what I want to be.
Mm.
And I've tried to get a bunch of my people to re-enlist. Some have, some haven't. You know, like, don't make your opinion off your first chief. You give the Navy some time. Come across some good leadership. So,
I like how you said earlier. You actually try to like teach a man and be there for your man. Still like check up on them nowadays because you got some leaders that try to be too buddy with their people.
Yeah,
Don't really know how to lead. So when they do try to set authority and stuff like that, it comes off like, man, what the fuck are you doing? Because they don't have that leadership mindset. And
and I went through that. When I was on Wyoming and we lost our chief, retired, so we didn't have a sonar chief for a while, and our first class just retired. We had another one, but this dude was from he was a boomer guy from the other side of the world. Out there in Washington, no one really knew him. So I was kind of not running the division, but I was there because I was leaving shortly. And that's how I tried to do. I tried to be buddy. And then, when I told them to do something, they looked at me like I lost my mind. So I learned that from experience. Like, okay, if you're in a position to lead, you can be cool, but it's not like, hey, we want to come over to the house and drink some Jameson. Cool. You got to set yourself. I'm not saying you can't be friends with them, but you can't, be that close with them. You don't want to know how many.
You know what this sounds like, bro? It sounds like good parents and bad parents to me.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Bro, like good parents will put down the discipline, like good chiefs would. Like they'll show you why you're wrong and they'll call you out on why you're wrong, but they'll teach you a lesson. Bad parents will just try to be your fucking friend without showing good leadership. That's what it reminds me of, this conversation. Like,
yes. That's what it is. I got my 3 little kids. It's hard. I want to be there for them, but sometimes, like my middle boy, he is a splitting image of me. He's a knucklehead. But he does all the same things I do. I'm like, what? I'm telling you, I've done this when I was your age. I was 8 once too. I didn't come out the womb at 42 and know everything.
The devil's gonna come when the sun goes